Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Mandy. This is a 10-inch square wood board from Arteza, and I've already laid down fiberglass and some Ashland crushed glass from Michaels, and the fiberglass is from Celestial Fire Glass. And so I'm just now putting some epoxy down just to hold it in place. And at this point, I'm just using some leftover epoxy. I didn't have enough for the whole geode, so I'm just putting down a couple of rings to not waste it. So the first color was Oyster Interference from Colourarte. It's like a pearl color, really beautiful. And then I put some Mayron gold around the crystals, and then I don't remember. I think it's either Interference gold that I laid down next, or Shooting Star from Colourarte. One of the two. It's Interference gold. And then I looked at the Mayron gold, which I love, by the way, and I was like, I kind of like the way this glass looks without it. So I'm just going to let this sit overnight, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I let it sit overnight. I even tried to spread the gold out a little bit, and I decided I wanted to do this one without the gold around the glass. So I'm covering it up with white, which is White Album from Faux Rizzle. It's a white base tint. Once again, making things way more complicated than I need to make them, but I just liked the simple look, and it looks kind of elegant to me. So this was the next step I did. The only problem that this is going to create is now there's a crater in the middle. So anything I lay down on those edges is going to naturally kind of go toward the middle. And so yeah, but whatever. So now I'm basically just going to torch it, let it sit. And then I ended up having leftover resin and coming back to it. And I went ahead and poured the other layers after some time. You can see I had worked on something else, and the white had kind of seeped into the middle. So, yeah. So now I am just kind of putting some clear next to the glass, and I'm going to go around it with the Oyster Interference satin, kind of like I have on the other side. And the two colors I'm going to put in the center are going to be Arctic Blue and Azure Mist from Colourarte Resin Art. And what you see me adding there, can't tell because it's been a minute since I did it. I think it's just the Oyster Interference. And so, sorry, that's my dog. And so at this point I have that tape dam around the edge, and I have too much white and it's getting everywhere. That really sparkly white color is, why do I always forget what it's called? Shooting Star from Colourarte, and it's a Bling color, so you can actually use it in resin or in acrylic. Super sparkly, and I love it. So I mixed it up and I put it outside that pearl layer on the top left there, if you're looking at this video. Really, really pretty. All right, so I'm just trying to spread out what I just put on there a little bit. And that line I just poured is Interference Gold from Colourarte. By the way, you can save 20% off anything on the Colourarte website with Mandy1120. It's in the description box below. And of course I use Primary Elements, Prism Pour, I use the Resin Art, the Bling It. All of it's amazing. That is one of the colors I mentioned earlier, Azure Mist. It's a really beautiful deep blue. Sorry if you can hear my dog walking around. And obviously I sped this up significantly. One kind of disappointing thing is because of two things, it wasn't level. as it was drying. And those kind of ridges on the edges, it moved, which is the most annoying thing. So I kind of had it a little bit off center here on purpose, but it moved way over down to the right. So that was super irritating. So there will be some work to try to fix that. But the color is super beautiful. I keep forgetting what that color is that I just told you guys. I want to say, I'll put it in the description box. Arctic blue is what it is. I don't know why I can't remember that. It's really pretty. So I'm just trying to extend that a little bit with the popsicle stick. And then I'll add a little bit more of the Azure mist on the other side. These colors end up looking really pretty together. But just know, I had to work for it, you know, like always. I actually used the Arctic blue or whatever I just told you on a big geode I'm working on. And I used it with Blue Moon. It looked really beautiful with that color. So yeah. That kind of like dip in the middle was not really working for me, but there wasn't much I could do about it after some time. So just popping our bubbles. I am wearing a respirator. You should always wear protective gear when you're working with resin, and you should also work in a ventilated area. So I usually open the window, and yeah. So that's why I do a lot more voiceovers, because I sound like Darth Vader when I'm wearing the respirator. Anyway, I've been having a lot of fun doing these. I end up coming back and doing some glitter lines in I think the second layer, maybe the third layer. I don't remember. So I sped this way up because it's still a work in progress. But hopefully you guys are enjoying these experiments. I really like doing these, so they're not going to go away. They're going to probably morph over time, but so I'm just using the rest of my resin here so I can blend that line a little bit better. And I'm trying to remember what color that is that I put on the other side. I think it might be that shooting star color. I love that. That and Milky Way are so delicious looking in resin. So I'm using some more Azure mist because I don't want that to be such a harsh color difference. I do want those colors to blend a little. So using more of the Azure mist to kind of sandwich that color. And then I'm going to torch it so it interacts really well with its friend there. My dogs are making all kinds of noise, guys. And I did use quite a bit of the shooting star because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like magical. And I like how it kind of interacts with whatever color you put next to. And so it almost looks like you did it on purpose. So super fun. So I think that's what I'm putting down there. But it's been a while since I actually worked on this. It also might be Inference gold. So it's one of those. Something lovely from Colourarte. So what ends up happening, and you'll see when I show you the second part of this blue line kind of shifts down and to the right. And it's not so much that it looks bad, it's just that it's way far away from the glass on the top. So I will end up going back and filling in some more glass to balance that out a little bit. But that's one of the great things about resin is it's not too much that you can do with resin that you can't somehow recover, even if you just pour completely over it. So it's not over till it's over. You can kind of tell it's starting to shift a little bit even now. So I'm basically just filling in with what I had left, and then I'm gonna cover it and let it sit. So yeah, but this is already 10 minutes in and we have a whole extra section coming. So, you know, get your coffee. I did speed this up like a cajillion times, but you can start to see it shift just a little bit. All right. Okay, everyone. So this is the second layer. As I mentioned, it kind of shifted and I wanted it to have a little bit more substance in the middle. So that first color was Arctic Blue, I think, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to sandwich it between the Azure Mist and then torch it really well so it sort of blends together. All right, so I'm basically just coming up on the other side with the Azure Mist. I tried not to speed this up so much that you can't tell at all what I'm doing, but I'm spreading it with the popsicle stick. And that color is Shooting Star that I just showed you. Obviously, sped up quite a bit, so I ran a little bit of it in front of the glass on each side, and I think I put some Interference gold down. Sorry if you can hear my dog. She's following me around wagging her tail. All right, so that is the Oyster Interference from Colourarte. Again, the Interference Gold and the Oyster Interference I used in the first layer, so I was just bringing them back into this layer. But I also super loved the Shooting Star and Milky Way also in resin. And I love the way they interact with the color when you put them next to it. And I know it's hard to see because they're all whitish or pearlish, but you can kind of start to see it interact where I laid it down next to the Azure Mist on the top left. So now I'm just blending the color a little bit at the top with a popsicle stick, and then I'm going to torch it so that it blends even more. Because when you torch resin, for those of you who don't work with resin that much, it's going to heat up the resin and it causes it to interact a little bit more. What I didn't want was a hard line of one color to the next. I kind of wanted them to look intentionally diverse but blended. So what you see me doing now is just adding a little clear resin over the glass because not all of it was tacked down. And then we're going to set this aside, let it dry. You can already see it moving. You can see the Shooting Star kind of showing up next to the blue in the middle. So the resin's starting to interact. What I really love is when you put the Shooting Star or Milky Way next to one of those colors, it kind of looks like you put down a different color that's a little bit lighter on purpose. And you can kind of see, so this is after it set overnight. You can kind of see where it shifted again. It was not level, so it shifted all the way to the left. So now what I'm doing is I have some silver holographic glitter mixed in it's mixed very thick with resin. If you're going to do glitter lines, it needs to be very thick because otherwise the resin is going to flatten out and spread out. So I am sucking that up out of a cup into a syringe. And then I'm doing my glitter lines. So what I wanted to do, and I sped this up, it took like 20 minutes. So I sped it up a lot. But what I wanted to do was kind of create lines around that part where the blue shifted and the Shooting Star kind of pulled over it, because I think it looks really cool if it looks like we did it on purpose. So that's why I did kind of like the two different lines there. And because at first when I saw that, I was like, I like the way that looks, but it obviously doesn't look intentional. And then my color kind of ran toward my glass a little bit, so I wasn't sure how to proceed. So you'll notice that the silver lines, in my opinion, really added so much depth. But this shifted so much that now I have this big white naked part on the bottom right where I decided later to add more glass, and you'll see that. But I sped up the glitter line. Again, this is almost a little blurry just because we're working on such a bright white surface. So you'll see the details a lot better when I bring you down for a close-up. So don't worry, you'll be able to see more. So again, I really kind of like those little, like almost like little two lines where it kind of looks like you did some intentional veining or whatever. I just like the way that looks. But this was the first time I had used a syringe, I think, to do my glitter lines, and I did like it. I am going to take a tip from Epoxy Peach and use squeeze bottles and then just clean them out with acetone or something, because it would make it easier. But I bought like a box of like 100 syringes on Amazon, so I just use one and chunk it. I know that that seems wasteful, but it's kind of easy for when you're doing glitter lines yourself, and then you can go back over it if you need it to be a little bit thicker. But I just love the way the lines added detail to this. So now this is the next day or whenever, another day, and I'm adding more glass because I mentioned it's naked looking right there. So I added the clear from Celestial Fireglass, and then I added the Ashland from Michaels, which is kind of a goldish color, and it's a little bit smaller. And I really do like the combination of those two for glass a lot, especially when you're kind of keeping your edges a little bit elegant. And you can't tell, but my resin was super thick, and it was gonna get to the point where I couldn't use it anymore. So I mixed in some Milky Way from Colourarte, and I just did a huge line in that negative space. It almost looks like a white glitter line. It's super sparkly. And then I was like, should I have done that? Does it look weird? And it grew on me. So what you can see me doing is trying to chase it away from my glitter, because it was trying to completely take over. So I'm just trying to contain it. So here's the close-up. I let that dry, took the tape off. You can see up close how beautiful those colors are. I really like the way this one turned out. It obviously did nothing I intended it to do initially, but that's art for you. Now you can see the line I added, but the colors, I just love them. This should be up in my Etsy shop sometime today. So it's a 10 by 10 deep edge. I kept the edges white, took the tape off last night, and yeah, took me forever to get this one done, but I really, really like it. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Don't forget about all the discount codes in the description box below, and appreciate you guys.